Welcome back. All right, so a video I wanted to do before the hockey gets started for today. I wanted to talk about this for a little bit now, and with events transpiring recently, I feel like now's a good time to make this video. So the idea that life is always magical and wonderful and it's always happy, it is something that social media would lead you to believe. In some cases, is reality that some people just have this great high life that everything's fantastic all the time. It's not real. A lot of the things on social media aren't real. Whether you're talking about TikTok, some people the way they portray themselves on Twitter, Facebook, wherever, it's not real. Whether it's filters people use to make themselves look better, or just they put on a happy face and they do photos, videos, whatever they do on social media, and then when the camera's off, who knows? You just never know. And so in my case, I've always dealt with that sort of that darkness that's in the background. There's this depression that's always kind of been there. And the earliest I can remember was back when I was a little kid. We living in Regina, and I remember there was a night where I was upset, I was crying, I didn't even know why. And there are times where, if you deal with depression, you may not even be aware of why. So you may just be having a day where you just feel like crap and everything just kind of sucks, and you're not quite sure exactly why you feel that way, but it's there, and it is one of those things that can come and go. Now for me, it's nowhere near what it used to be. I've got numbers on the board for a reason here. First off, 15. That was where I kind of hit my lowest point, and I want to say 14, 15, and then I ended up finding religion, which definitely helped. And I have absolutely no problem with people who lean on religion and faith to get themselves through rough times. For me, at times, it wasn't necessarily enough. I did go through some counseling after my parents split up. I did do Alateen when I was a teenager, the Alcoholics Anonymous groups for teenage kids from families with alcoholics. I did that, and that was okay too. There were times where it felt like it was kind of a teenage pickup spot, and I was like, I don't think that's what we're all here. But anyways, you throw a bunch of teenagers in a room, they're going to get bored and start exchanging phone numbers. So, I mean, at 15 though, it was a low point for me. I there was no chance of me having a girlfriend. Never had one in school. There was zero chance I was going to have one. And it was something that, I mean, it bothered me. I remember feeling at 18 like I'm never going to find anybody. I'm never going to settle down. It's never going to happen. And that negative voice that was in there telling me that, it never really went away. And so eventually it became self-fulfilling prophecy. So friendships would get ruined because I'd ruin them. And I would do it before the other person, the friend, could do it. So just sort of just push the right buttons, and eventually people go away and they leave you alone. And then that voice can be in your head going, "See, told you suck. I told you you'd mess it up." And then when things are going well, that voice will be there too. Like, well, eventually it's all going to fall apart. And I want to say that eventually it just all goes away and gets better. It doesn't necessarily. You've got to kind of fight that. And for me personally, it's a battle that I still have at times. Now at 25, you're getting into when I got into my first serious relationship, and I made a lot of mistakes before I got into that. I made a lot of mistakes at the start of that, and the funny part is I should have had serious relationships before then, because the one that I ended up in wasn't healthy and I didn't have the experience to know that. But the other part was because up here I didn't feel like I was good enough for good things. It worked. It was like anytime I got some kind of negative reaction to something, or I got some kind of just negative feedback, I would take that and go, "Yep, they're right. They're right because yeah, no, this is all wrong about me. Yep, they're right. I'm a broken individual. They're absolutely right. Yep. Yep, no, these things are all wrong about me." And the funny thing is, a lot of the things I was agreeing about and saying, "No, you're right, they're wrong," are things that I understand now they weren't wrong, and in part, I end up becoming the hockey guy because I fought back against a lot of it. I don't think these channels, this one or the main channel, would have existed if I had allowed that loop to continue. Now at 41, things got ugly because that was when that relationship I'd started when I was almost 26 ended. And it was a relationship that was fraught with issues for many, many years. And I guess I just kind of figured that eventually it would work itself out. Eventually we'd find each other again and we'd rekindle and eventually it'll work. And then nope, so they're gone. And so I was thrown into this depression of feeling like I wasn't good enough, and that still fed into that idea that I knew I wasn't good enough. Like, okay, so she's gone, so that proves that that voice in my head was right the whole time, and I wasn't good enough. I was not the right person on any level, and it kind of consumed me, and I ended up going into a really deep depression that lasted for some time, and it lasted until the channel started taking off in 2016. Um, we're coming up on the draft lottery tomorrow. That was where things really took off in 2016. Unexpectedly, I never thought anybody was going to watch what I was putting out there, and then suddenly they did, and it threw me off because until then, nobody cared what I had to say about anything. That just wasn't a thing. I could stand around at work all day and talk about hockey. Nobody cared. Nobody was like, "Oh wow, those are really good insights he's giving." There would be one person and myself that we talk about hockey, and that'd be about it. Um, I'm just trying to think back, like the people I could talk hockey all day to at my old jobs. There would usually be a couple, like two guys at the old meat job, and then maybe three or four when I worked at the call center. And so those were the people I would talk to. But I mean, there was no, hey, you should have a podcast, you should have a YouTube channel. None of that. It was just talking about hockey and BSing. So that helped to turn things around for me from an emotional standpoint. And then I got myself right enough that I was able to get into a relationship with Yvonne, who I'm married to. And we knew right away we were going to get married. Like there was no debate. I never asked her. She never asked me. We just knew. Um, I just looked at her and I said, we're going to get married, aren't we? And she said, yeah, I think so. And I was like, all right, so that's the thing. And that's trust me, we ever make the movie about it, it'll be something big and romantic. It'll be at the top of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. But at any rate, and then that started things turning around for me. But there was a lot of bumps along the way. I had a rough relationship with members of my family. I had, as I mentioned, friendships that fell apart. And I still have that. There are maybe 6 people that I've messaged on Facebook and said, hey, we should go out for coffee over the last, I'll say 6 months. It's kind of been an experiment. Um, in every case, I get a message back of, hey, that's a great idea. We should do that. And then nothing. So if you're out there and you're watching this and you're like, I don't ever get to go out. Yeah, I don't go out and do stuff either. And don't feel bad because I definitely still go through that where I say, hey, do you want to go hang out? And people are like, yeah, sure. I'll let you know. And then that's it. It's done. It's over. So for people who are dealing with this kind of thing right now, I know it's going to seem really hollow because, well, it's easy for him to say, look at the subscribers he has and what he has. I had none of this. I had none of this when I was in my 30s. I had none of this in my 20s. I was absolutely just lost and without any kind of direction. And then it happened. And if I had listened to voices in my brain and all the crap it was telling me back when I was 15, I wouldn't be here. Nobody'd know who I was. Same at 25. Nobody would have known. Like before I got into that bad relationship, I had been through so much crap before that yeah, anytime something bad happened, I blamed myself. And then, when it all fell apart again, I was pretty convinced that life as I knew it was basically done. That's it. I remember my opinion at that point being, well, that's it. It's done. I had memberships on dating sites just to remind myself that women didn't have any interest, and I would get that information quickly because when you're a guy on a dating site, well, there's a lot more guys than there are girls, so the women can be far more discerning than guys are, and in general they are, and very often it was that maybe I didn't have enough money, I may not have had a cool enough job for them, and so that would be this whole, well, you seem like a nice guy, but Or they'd ask, well, how much money do you make? How, what kind of car do you drive? What do you own your own house? Like I would get all these questions that I thought had nothing to do with me as a person or as a potential mate, just sort of a, can you take care of me? And if the answer was not what they wanted, then that was that. And it's odd because I mean things have changed, right? Things have changed, but one thing that I've always said to Yvonne is that now that people know who I am, and I would imagine if I was dating it'd be a little bit easier. I wouldn't trust it. I would not trust it at all. That would always be a question in the back of my mind, right? Of, is this person with me for me, or is there some other ulterior motive? So yeah, this basically would be it. But if anything ever did happen, I like to think that the voice issue I was dealing with, where I'd be told I wasn't good enough and all that, that could be kept at bay. But it is something that I still know is there. It's something you can't pretend it isn't. That's the dangerous part. But the other thing is, talk to somebody. I guarantee you, no matter who you are, no matter how many people you know or you don't know, somebody cares. Somebody will talk to you about it. There are various phone numbers. Easy to find phone numbers on that. And usually, no matter what country you're in, there should be services available to you to help you through that. And it is not a sign of weakness to admit you need help. It is never a sign of weakness. Um, Knowing that there are a couple of people I've known, who have decided to end their own lives, and I didn't know. And if I'd known, I would have definitely done something to help them. Um, it's hard. It's hard because it's the finality of it. You don't give anybody the option of helping you. And so, it's one thing to keep in mind is that that's it, right? Um, so all the best to everybody, really, seriously. And this idea that mental health gets a month here or a week there, I think it's crap. I think it's absolute crap. I think it needs to be a part of our everyday discussions, the same as various illnesses are, whether it's cancer, diabetes, things you see on TV all the time. I think we always need to have that conversation because there's always going to be people struggling. And this idea that, well, everything's perfect in their lives. Look at these people on social media. Everything's great. My life sucks. Odds are some of those people on social media, their life's not great either. Um, and honestly, I make more money now than I did when I worked at previous jobs. It doesn't guarantee that you're happier either. Money doesn't buy happiness. I will say this. It does change what you worry about, but if you're a worrier and if you're a person that gets stressed out, there will always be something to get stressed out about. Always. It's just that's how that works. Every year when tax time comes up, I end up really, really stressed out because we're self employed. And then we do our taxes, I pay my taxes, and then 11 months later, I'm going to be all stressed out again. It's my personality, it's how it works. But when the camera's on, that doesn't come through because people watch my videos. They like to have that normalcy, that sense of routine, and I know how important that is. I always have people telling me how important my videos are on the daily. And so I do that. And I will do videos on this channel for 200 people. I will do videos. I enjoy doing videos on this channel a lot, actually. I think the flash videos I do where I recap those episodes, those are some of my favorite videos that I do. Period. I think I might enjoy those more than the NHL recaps because it's just fun. It's just a lot of fun. And I don't have to worry about as much about, well, you didn't talk about this and you didn't talk about this and you're biased because nah, it's just me talking about a TV show. So on some level I kind of enjoy those more. But if you're dealing with stuff, talk to somebody, reach out to people. Don't be scared of doing it. Doesn't make you more of a loser. It doesn't mean that people are going to lose respect for you. And if they are, well, then they're not your friends. When everything fell apart for me at 41, I had people telling me within 2 weeks of that relationship ending that, well, you need to just get over it and move on. When a relationship ends, and especially if it's a serious long-term relationship, there is a mourning period. And if you don't allow people to go through that mourning period, it's just going to sit there. It's going to stay there because they've never properly let it pass. So the people who were like, yeah, just get over it within a couple of weeks, I took note. And it's something I've never forgotten, that those people just basically didn't acknowledge it. Like, you wouldn't ask somebody, you wouldn't say, well, you broke your leg, but that was a couple weeks ago. Just get up and walk around. So you're fine. Get up and walk around. What do you mean? It's just a leg. well, your brain's broken. Like I don't. Yeah. Anyways, that's always the way I've looked at it. It's still it's something you need to go through and you need to do it right. And sometimes it may involve therapy because if you don't, it's just going to stay and it could get a lot worse. So before it gets worse, don't be afraid to ask for help. And if it has gotten worse, ask for help. I say that because, there's a kid I used to play street hockey with all the time, and now when we have meetups, he won't be there, and it sucks. It sucks because he was a good kid, and there were some people that pushed him over the edge, and I hate that. I hate that. And I really wish he'd messaged me because we're friends on Facebook. I really wish he'd messaged me. And so, that's why I'm here today talking about this because there are people who care. He may not have had any idea that I cared. He may have had no idea that Yvonne and I have a bunch of pictures of him from meetups and that she specifically would take pictures of him. And when he wasn't there, we would specifically mention to one another, hey, he wasn't there this week. Wonder what happened. And then we'd find out he had to work, right? And maybe people don't know that when I have meetups, I look at see who's there and who isn't, and I ask myself, where's the guy who usually plays goal? He's not here this week. What happened to Jordan? Oh, Jordan had to work. Is Lewis around? And so I care and I pay attention to this stuff, and it's important to me. So, at any rate, thank you guys so much for your support in helping me get things right, and I will do that for people where I can. The one thing is too, when you're helping other people, make sure that you're leaving enough attention for yourself that you're not just burning yourself out. So that's the one piece of advice I'd give on that as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support along the way. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. And I will talk to you again soon.